We often hear that we should seek clarity, rise toward reason, and wake up to the light of truth. But few ask what happens when the light dims, when the conscious mind slips into sleep, and the gates to the unconscious swing open. Welcome to the inner light. In this episode, we explore the strange, rich, and mysterious realm of dreams, not from a surface-level curiosity, but through the lens of history's most daring thinkers. Dreams are not just illusions. They are invitations to a deeper understanding of who we are. They may disturb or enlighten, but above all, they reveal. Dreams have fascinated humanity for millennia. Seen as messages from the divine, glimpses of the future, or the random static of a sleeping brain. But what do modern psychology and philosophy tell us about this mysterious territory? Today, we're going to explore the landscape of dreams through the eyes of some profound thinkers, particularly the groundbreaking work of Carl Jung, and touch upon perspectives from Friedrich Nietzsche and Plato. Drawing insights from the texts we have available, we're going to delve deep, so settle in. We spend, on average, a third of our lives asleep. Within that time, we enter a realm where the rules of our waking world seem to dissolve, where logic bends, where the familiar becomes strange, and where reality is woven from the threads of our deepest fears, desires, and unknown possibilities. This is the world of dreams. By the way, if you're enjoying this content so far, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dives into the mind and philosophy. For a long time, in psychology, and even in philosophical thought, the unconscious aspects of the human mind were either ignored or seen as merely a dark basement, a kind of psychological dumping ground filled with repressed desires and forgotten memories. Sigmund Freud, for instance, significantly contributed to our understanding of the unconscious, but his concept was largely focused on this reservoir of repressed impulses. Carl Jung, however, saw the unconscious in a radically different way. For him, it wasn't merely a basement filled with discarded desires and childhood trauma. It was an entire realm of living symbols, archetypes, and hidden truths. While Freud's unconscious was personal, Jung introduced the concept of the collective unconscious, a deeper layer of the psyche shared across humanity. Filled with recurring patterns, myths, and images, Jung believed that dreams were the language of the unconscious. But unlike language in its logical linear form, the language of dreams was symbolic. Dreams speak in metaphor, image, and paradox. They do not disguise. They express, in a way the waking mind cannot easily decode. A central concept in Jung's dream theory is compensation. He saw dreams as balancing forces to the conscious mind. For example, if someone is overly rational and cut off from emotion during the day, they might dream of floods, storms, or weeping children. Not as prophecy, but as a psychic correction. The dream brings what is missing to the surface. He also saw dreams as a guide toward individuation, the lifelong process of becoming one's true self, a synthesis of conscious and unconscious elements. Archetypes such as the shadow, the anima or animus, the wise old man or woman, and the hero often show up in dreams as symbols of inner transformation. Importantly, Jung warned against fixed interpretations. He emphasized context, asking, "What does this symbol mean to the dreamer?" He encouraged active imagination, drawing, journaling, and dialoguing with dream figures, as a way to bring unconscious content into conscious integration. In Jung's view, dreams are not just nightly entertainment or weird brain noise. They're sacred texts written in the symbolic alphabet of the soul, asking not to be solved, but to be listened to. Now, with that foundation laid, let's move on to another thinker who challenged surface appearances and invited us to look into the deeper chaos of being, Friedrich Nietzsche. If you've made it this far, congratulations on diving so deeply into this ocean of ideas. How about sharing in the comments a dream that marked you? Let's build this reflective space together. Now, let's turn to our next thinker, Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche, although he did not write systematically about dreams, offers a crucial philosophical foundation for understanding them as manifestations of the unconscious and the will. For Nietzsche, consciousness is not the center of human life. In his critique of Enlightenment reason and traditional morality, he reclaimed what is instinctual, chaotic, Dionysian, and dreams fit precisely in that territory. Nietzsche also echoes Leibniz's idea that consciousness is merely an accident of experience, something superficial, perhaps even pathological. True psychic life pulses elsewhere, in the unconscious, in our impulses, in the will to power. Dreams, as windows into this deeper world, confront us with what we refuse to face during the day. They are, in a sense, both nihilistic and creative, questioning established truths while pointing toward new possibilities of meaning. In his book, The Gay Science, Nietzsche discusses the necessity of interpreting the signs of existence, even when they appear chaotic. The dream is one such sign. Like a tragic artist who gazes into the abyss and extracts beauty, the brave dreamer can transform their nocturnal fears into self-knowledge. And if any of these ideas spark something in you, a memory, an insight, or even a contradiction, drop a comment below. We love to hear what resonates from the depths of your psyche. Next, let's travel back in time to ancient Greece. Plato, one of the foundational thinkers in Western philosophy, had much to say about the inner life. And while he didn't focus on dreams per se in the same way Jung or Freud did, his work provides powerful tools for interpreting the symbolic world of the unconscious. In his famous work, The Republic, Plato introduces the metaphor of the cave, in which people live chained to illusions, believing shadows to be reality. This image resonates deeply with the experience of dreaming, where the mind conjures apparitions, and we take them, temporarily, to be real. Plato viewed the soul as tripartite, rational, spirited, and appetitive. In dreams, we can witness these parts in conflict or harmony. The rational voice might appear as a guiding figure, while the spirited part could manifest in feelings of triumph or panic and the appetitive in raw desires. In Book 9 of The Republic, Plato even suggests that in sleep, when the rational part of the soul rests, the darker impulses of the other parts can rise and play out, a view that strikingly foreshadows Freud's and Jung's insights. Plato was also skeptical of those who rely too heavily on public opinion. He likened them to people feeding a monstrous beast. This parallels Jung's view of the collective opinion that often overrides the inner voice. Dreams, in this sense, may represent a rebellion of the individual psyche against societal pressures, calling us to return to inner truth, to what Plato called the form of the good. Dreams, then, are not distractions from reality, but glimpses into a more fundamental realm, a domain where the soul contemplates its own condition and yearns for harmony with itself and the cosmos. If this perspective resonates with you, or reminds you of a dream where your desires, fears, or higher self seem to take symbolic form, leave a comment below. Share your thoughts. This is a space for dialogue and reflection. Coming up, we're going to dive into the views of another titan, Aristotle. Aristotle, the student of Plato and a thinker deeply rooted in observation and classification, brought a more empirical lens to the question of dreams. In his short treatise on dreams, he doesn't dismiss dreams as divine messages, nor does he treat them purely as nonsense. Instead, he investigates them as natural phenomena, products of the imagination, influenced by sensory impressions and the bodily state. For Aristotle, dreams occur because when we sleep, our senses are inactive, but the sense impressions and residues left in the body remain. These residues stimulate the imagination, leading to dream images that can be vivid, emotional, or strange. In this view, the dreaming mind is not completely free. It's reacting to echoes of sensation and thought. But that doesn't mean dreams are meaningless. Far from it. Aristotle notes that dreams can sometimes anticipate illness or reveal hidden tensions in the body and mind. They are, in a sense, diagnostic. This interpretation opens a new perspective. Dreams as bodily reflections, as part of a holistic feedback loop between psyche and soma. While Jung focused on the symbolic and teleological, Aristotle reminds us that dreams also have roots in the physiological, a dual nature that modern neuropsychology is only beginning to unpack. Even more intriguingly, Aristotle observed that people with particular temperaments, melancholic types especially, are more prone to vivid and intense dreams. This insight parallels Jung's view that the richness of the unconscious experience varies according to personality structure. If you've ever had a dream that felt tied to something physical like stress, illness, or even a moment of clarity in your body, hit the like button and let us know in the comments. We want to know, Do you feel your body speaks to you through dreams? Next, we'll explore a very different kind of thinker, Descartes. Get ready for doubt, dualism, and dreams that might shake your very grip on reality. Descartes is famous for his radical doubt, the philosophical process of stripping away all uncertain beliefs to find what can be known with absolute certainty. And one of his most striking tools in this method is the dream argument. In his Meditations on First Philosophy, Descartes asks, how can we be certain that what we experience when awake is not just another dream? After all, dreams can be vivid, coherent, and utterly convincing. We've all had moments where waking up from a dream felt like exiting another reality. For Descartes, this insight calls into question the reliability of the senses. If we can be fooled in dreams, perhaps we are being fooled even now. This leads to his famous conclusion, cogito, ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. He may not be able to trust the world, but the very act of doubting confirms the existence of the doubter. This view doesn't focus on the content of dreams like Jung or Aristotle, but on their epistemological power. Dreams become a philosophical device, a mirror showing the fragility of what we call reality. And in that fragility lies an invitation to deeper reflection. Who are we, beyond what we perceive? What, if anything, lies beneath the dream of life? Interestingly, Descartes also saw the mind and body as separate substances, a view called dualism. This divide raises fascinating questions for dreams. Are they mental phenomena, disconnected from the body, or are they bridges between the two realms? Modern psychology leans toward integration, but Descartes reminds us that the nature of consciousness is still deeply mysterious. So let me ask you, have you ever woken from a dream wondering if you were really awake? Have you questioned your own senses, even for a moment? If so, hit that like button and share your experience in the comments. Next up, we'll wander into the darker waters of Schopenhauer, where dreams become entangled with the will, illusion, and suffering. Arthur Schopenhauer, often dubbed the philosopher of pessimism, saw reality itself as fundamentally driven by a blind, irrational force he called the will, a kind of restless, striving energy at the core of all existence. For Schopenhauer, what we experience as the world is merely a representation, a projection filtered through our mental faculties. Dreams in this framework are another layer of representation, a stage where the will continues to express itself, albeit in disguised, symbolic, or fragmented form. In dreams, according to this worldview, we glimpse the raw, often chaotic force of desire and fear, unshackled from reason. And while Schopenhauer didn't leave an extensive theory of dreams, his metaphysical stance implies that dreams, like waking life, are illusions, veils over the deeper truth of suffering and unfulfilled striving. Yet even in this bleak vision, there's a strange kind of liberation. By recognizing the dreamlike nature of both sleep and waking life, one begins to detach, to quiet the will. Art, for Schopenhauer, was a temporary escape from this suffering, a moment when the intellect contemplates pure form without desire. Could dreams serve a similar role? Perhaps certain dreams, especially those imbued with beauty, insight, or symbolic resolution, can act like moments of aesthetic transcendence, briefly lifting us out of the ceaseless push and pull of wanting. So here's a thought. Have you ever had a dream that felt like a release? It's a moment of peace or insight that lingered into your day? If so, leave a comment. Let's explore whether dreams can be small windows of stillness in a world ruled by will. And don't forget to like and subscribe if these philosophical journeys are opening up something in you, even just a little. Next, we'll step into the existential landscape of Kierkegaard, where dreams confront anxiety, freedom, and the weight of becoming ourselves. Kierkegaard, often hailed as the father of existentialism, delved deep into the inner struggles of the self, not just as a philosophical problem, but as a lived experience. Though he didn't write explicitly about dreams in the way psychologists might, his ideas about despair, angst, and becoming can be profoundly illuminating when applied to the realm of dreams. For Kierkegaard, the human condition is defined by tension between the finite and the infinite, the temporal and the eternal, the self and the possibility of selfhood. This tension often manifests as anxiety, a deep unease that arises when we become aware of our freedom, the terrifying realization that we are responsible for defining ourselves. Dreams can surface this existential anxiety in its rawest form, recurring scenarios of being lost, falling, or facing impossible choices. These are not just random fears, but symbolic expressions of the burden of becoming. In the concept of anxiety, Kierkegaard distinguishes between fear, which has an object, and anxiety, which is objectless. Dreams often reflect this latter type. They conjure unease, dread, or awe without clear cause. That very ambiguity can be a signal from the unconscious, alerting us that something within us seeks resolution, integration, or transformation. For Kierkegaard, despair arises when we refuse to become our true selves, when we either lose ourselves in the finite or dissolve into the abstract infinite. Dreams then might serve as nighttime mirrors, confronting us with where we've strayed or refused to choose. Silent pleas from the psyche urging us toward authentic selfhood. And here's a moment to reflect. Have you ever had a dream that felt like a message? Not from outside, but from deep within? Something telling you it was time to change, confront, or choose? Drop it in the comments. Let's explore what our dreams are asking us to become. Hit the like button if you're starting to see your dreams as more than just random images, as existential companions on the path of becoming. Next, we will bring in a less discussed yet profoundly relevant voice, Simone Weil, a philosopher of interiority, tension, and suffering, and how her insights shed light on the spiritual dimension of dreams. Simone Weil's philosophy is rooted in the idea of attention, not just as focus or mental effort, but as a spiritual discipline. For while real attention means emptying the self, listening with the whole soul, and becoming radically receptive, in this context, dreams could be seen as spiritual offerings, moments where the soul speaks in symbols, and we, if attentive, may receive something beyond ourselves. While Weil didn't develop a theory of dreams per se, her writings on affliction grace and the void invite us to see dreams, not just as psychological messages, but as moments of silence where something sacred might break through. In the silence of sleep, when ego and control dissolve, we might be visited by insights, callings, or painful truths. This aligns with her notion that true transformation often begins in suffering, and that attention to suffering rather than escape from it is the gateway to transcendence. Dreams, especially those that disturb or humble us, can reveal hidden wounds or call us toward service, sacrifice, or clarity. Weil believed that the soul is formed in its capacity to accept reality without illusion, and perhaps our dreams are the testing ground where illusions are peeled away. There's something deeply intimate in her approach. Dreams may not always comfort us, but they can make us more awake. Not just in the morning, but to the reality of who we are and what is being asked of us. If you've ever had a dream that brought stillness rather than stimulation, that felt like it asked you to listen rather than act, let us know. We'd love to hear how your dreams have whispered through the silence. As always, if this reflection resonated with you, hit the like button, subscribe for more explorations of mind and meaning, and share your thoughts below. Your voice is part of this journey. Coming next, a synthesis of everything we've explored, how these diverse philosophical lenses can be brought together to illuminate the hidden language of our dreams. Across the centuries and schools of thought, these philosophers and psychologists have shown us that dreams are more than flickers of fantasy or biological noise. For Carl Jung, they are the symbolic voice of a vast and intelligent unconscious. For Nietzsche, dreams are manifestations of primal force, challenging us to create meaning. Plato saw them as shadows of the soul's structure, Aristotle as natural reflections of bodily and sensory experience. Descartes used dreams to question the very nature of reality. Schopenhauer pointed to them as mirrors of the will's suffering. Kierkegaard saw in them existential anxieties and the push toward authentic selfhood. And Simone Weil taught us to approach them with reverent attention, as sacred invitations to listen. Together, these voices tell us that dreams are a frontier, where psyche meets soul, where illusion dances with truth, where symbols teach what language cannot express, each thinker adds a lens. Together, they form a kaleidoscope through which we can begin to understand the mystery, not to solve it, but to honor it. So what do your dreams mean? It's not a question to answer with certainty. It's a question to live with, a riddle to walk alongside, a whisper to listen for. If this journey into the philosophy and psychology of dreams stirred something in you, A question, a memory, a spark? Let us know in the comments. What thinker resonated with you most? What dream has stayed with you long after you woke up? And if you found value here, help the channel grow. Like, subscribe, share with someone who dreams deeply. We're building a space for thoughtful minds and curious souls. Till next time, sleep well and dream even deeper. Thank you again for watching. If this journey spoke to you, help us reach more seekers. Like, subscribe, and share your insights in the comments. Till next time, dream with purpose, reflect with courage, and stay connected to the mystery within.